Hi, this is James from GPX, and I've just got back from my first competitive race on the TSE 300. So I thought I would just show you around the bike and let you see it close up. I've not touched it. I've not done anything to it. I only live about 3-4 miles away from where the event was, and so the engine's still warm. So it's not been washed, it's not been fettled. This is exactly it as it's just finished the event. I've just done a 3-hour Hare and Hounds event on it, and it was absolutely pucker. This bike is an absolute missile. Previously to this, I've been riding the TSE 250, which is a softer powered bike, and this is a completely different kettle of fish. I wouldn't necessarily say that I was dramatically faster on this bike, but that's only down to me, the rider. That's only down to me, the rider, as opposed to that bike. It's got nothing to do with that bike. It's got to do with me. You know what I'm talking about. I can only go so fast when I ride. But this bike is just so much more capable. It was lovely to ride. I had no issues with it whatsoever. It's totally reliable, starts on the button immediately. Brakes were brilliant, just so sort of modular, and just you can control it so accurately with the the lever pressure here. I came off a few times today, but the bike took it all in its stride. They were only small little get-offs, and I immediately picked the bike up and got it going again. But the brakes on it are absolutely superb. The suspension was lovely. I had the compression wound up. I've had these forks and the shock revalved, and I've actually I just left the shock pretty much as it was, but the forks, I'd wound the compression up on this side here by about halfway, because I wanted it a little bit stiffer on the front end. I don't know whether that was a particularly good move or not, but it's one that played out, and it's one that when I'm riding it, I've got no regrets about doing that. I think the setting was good. As you can see, I was using all of the length of the fork leg. I've got no leakage there. There's no leaks. These are the original seals from when I actually got this bike back in September, and there's no leakage at all past the seals. I was running a tube today on the front because I didn't have a moose handy on this bike. This is a stock tyre that it comes with. And so I was running about sort of 15 psi in the front, just to stop me getting a puncture, because that would have been, just a race ender if I'd got a puncture. So I really wound that up. I'll pump that up so I just wouldn't have any problems, on that. But the bike, the engine, is the strong point of this bike. The back end, let's just talk about the front suspension is just, really, really good. It's got that, that initial sort of, this amount of the forks here is just gorgeous. It's just, there's no harsh feeling to these forks. They are so soft, and even the slightest amount of movement causes these to move up and down, and they don't stick at all. There's no horrible stiction or sticking problems that you get with other forks. They're wonderful forks, and you can feel them just softly, very softly, just taking their hits and taking the wax for you, and damping them out. You can feel that when you ride. I noticed that especially when I first got on the bike this morning and had it on the halfway compression setting. Had all the rebound wound off, but had the compression on halfway. And the forks were absolutely amazing. It was a very, very slippery course today. We got warned by the clerk of the course, and it was absolutely true. So slippery. And it was clayey mud, and it was very difficult to sort of stay upright if you were trying to push. But really, really, really impressed with the forks. You won't find better forks any bike, any stock bike out there at all. They are absolutely tremendous forks. The rear end here, I always find rear ends are a little bit less important, but I like the fact that it is linkless and you got less maintenance with it, and it does everything it was supposed to. I was having it was just perfect. I mean, I had no issues with it. I've got no sort of thoughts of, oh, I wish it did that or wish it did this. It was just lovely. It was nice and just medium. It was just soft enough for me, but it wasn't harsh or hard. It was just gorgeous, just really nice. And that seat was comfy. At the end of this race today, people were moaning. One guy came up to me and said, "Oh God, I'm going to have to sort of bathe my backside in Epsom salts because it hurts so much." But this is a real comfy seat. Now, fan came on. I'd say every lap in certain places, generally around the uphill side of things, but I did notice that for the remainder of the lap it was actually off, so that's good. The engine was just started on the button at the start immediately and was just off. No messing around, no problems with starting, no sort of sitting there on the line. I was one of the first away out of the four. I think I was second away, I think. So I'm really pleased with that. I've got a little bit of two-stroke oil here, which has come out of the power valve housing, which has attached itself to all the dust. But that's only because I had that cover off, just having a look inside. And obviously it hasn't just sealed up properly. And some of the oil from my 40-to-1 mixture, which is, I certainly suggest is quite a rich mixture, has just come out. But I'm quite happy with 40-to-1 mixture on this bike. The carburation is absolutely spot on. It runs so cleanly and strongly, it's unreal. There's no spluttering at all on this bike. First gear, is just like a missile, but it just leaps forward, and it's just wonderful. I mean, and second and third, I mean, I was going stationary into those nasty sort of 90-degree corners that are off camber, for instance, and there's a couple of large roots there, and you can't attack them with any speed, not if you're normal anyway, and as most of us are. And I was going into them in third gear on a 1352 gearing. That's quite high, but you went there, you just kept your finger hovering on the clutch and just and covered the clutch and just fed the clutch out with a bit of revs, not a lot of revs, just a bit of revs, and it just pulled and pulled and pulled. You don't have to be in the right gear on this bike. It's a very easy bike to ride. But when you get, I was spent all day, most of the day certainly, on bottom end and mid-range. That's where and it just lugs so well and just pulls so well, and lovely and cleanly. It didn't gas up once all today. It was absolutely lovely, and I'm really pleased with that. Rear mousse was sitting nice and flatly. There's been a bit of shine here, which is normally associated with a bit of movement actually on the rim, but I don't think it's movement like that. It's just movement in and out of the actual rim, but I'm quite happy with that. That's fine. Back brake, razor sharp, really good. You've got to be careful with that lever because it is a very strong rear brake. I'd ripped the rear pack, the silencer on this just the other day. I thought it might need repacking, but I don't think it did do. But that was something that I did last week. Yeah, I had a couple of get-offs today, but nothing big. Didn't matter. Bike started up straight away. It was one of these tall logs that you had to get over halfway around the track, and there was an easy and a hard route, so I chose a hard route on the first lap. Me and the bike got over, but me and the bike parted ways just on the other side. But exhaust is held up well. The whole bike has held up well. Nothing's fallen off, nothing's broken. You know, it's a proper top quality bit of kit, this bike. I put new chain and sprockets on for today. Yeah, I put a steel sprocket, a JT sprocket on the back, a DID chain. But I'm really pleased. The clutch was really nice, one finger all day long, and it doesn't slip, it doesn't drag at all, not one little bit, and it just goes and does the job. And you can slip it, and you can feather it, and to get the revs up. And I was doing that all day long because, you know, I'm a high gear sort of guy. You know, it's the younger riders that can hang on to a low gear and scream the hell out of it. But you know, that's not me. That's maybe me for about 10 minutes, but after that, you know, I'm sort of pulling high gears because I get more traction that way. It's just easier to ride that way. There's one of the results of that first crash I had, yeah. But hey, that doesn't matter. Let me just start this up. Okay, so that's my kill switch. I've got the kill switch set that way. This is non-stock, by the way. You normally get a whole bunch of lighting and horn and indicators here, but I've changed it for this because I don't need it. I don't need all the indicators. So that's how quickly it starts all of the time. I've got my headlight, so it's wired on permanently. Anyway, there we are. There's a look around my GPX 300 TSE, which I've ridden my first competitive race on today. I'm really pleased. This is all part of a process towards actually getting a real fast rider on the bike. Me riding the bike is, you know, for my benefit, for my enjoyment, but it's also total fact finding as well, because the aim is very shortly to actually announce you know, a rider that we've got, a quick ride that we've got on this bike, and the whole point of that is just to actually show people out there that this bike is just not just a good looking price at a great price, good looking bike at a great price. It's actually a real quick animal as well. It's a superbly quick bike. It absolutely flies. So there we are. So a quick look around my GPX 300 after its enduro today.